So really, we don't have enough tape in the Betamax to be able to capture the full backstage meeting that we have here. You don't get to see all the time-wasting chatter that happens before we start rolling, so to speak. It's not that that's any better than what you're going to see, so I don't want to feel like you're missing out on anything. But we finally did all come to a mutual consent agreement that we would start recording this. And so this, ladies and gentlemen, is the backstage meeting for Right Angle. This is something that the members at BillWhittle.com not only fund, but enjoy in its fullness and proper format.
Enjoy.
That's right.
They endure it, I think might be more fair to say.
Endure.
Yes. And the stamina of our members has been prodigious and impressive. So, ladies and gentlemen, this week, Stephen Green actually gets to host an extra duty episode. So he doesn't receive any extra duty pay for this, but he actually gets 2 episodes, 100% more episodes than Bill and I are hosting. So, Steve, go ahead and tell us what you'd like to talk about this week on Right Angle.
Now, is it my understanding, Scott, that you get hazard pay whenever I do a lightning round?
I should get hazard pay. That seems only fair.
Well, guess what? We're doing a lightning round.
You're killing me, Larry. I know that most people get tired of these things, but to me, tradition is important. You know,
Exactly.
It marks the passing of the generations and eases one.
How about we observe the tradition of circumcision? We circumcise the "You're killing me, Larry" out of this.
No, it would be like Gracie not saying "Goodnight, Gracie" after George Burns says "Say Goodnight, Gracie." Yeah.
I think people would rebel.
Yeah, that's on a plane with "Goodnight, Gracie."
Or revolt.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Then the members are revolting.
Don't smell so good either.
So, Stephen,
yes.
Now that you're all digitally aligned, what would you like to do for your members-only episode this week?
Oh, I think we need to talk about... Wait a minute. Scott, you were worried that I was going to steal your topic again, weren't you?
Yes, I was, and still continue to be.
Did you want to talk about reparations?
I do, in advance. Preparations. No, there's no preparation involved here.
No, reparations is... this has become the... I swear it sounds like it's becoming the new abortion rights for the Democrats. All the major presidential candidates went to kiss Al Sharpton's ring at his reparations summit over the weekend, and they all came back saying, oh, yes. They either came out completely in favor of sanctions, which...
so wait a minute. I just want to understand. Is Al Sharpton agreeing to pay reparations in regard to the Tawana Brawley incident now?
No. Those slavery reparations.
Different thing. Okay.
Yeah,
reparations for the so he's talking about Black Americans paying Jewish Americans as reparations for the slavery when the Egyptians held the Jews in bondage for however long?
No. You got to come just a couple 3,000 years further forward. Think about 1865. 40 acres and a mule, which of course was never delivered. But they're still talking about this, and reparations seems to come up the year before every presidential election year, and then when the presidential election actually comes around, the Democrats get strangely silent on it all of a sudden because it just pulls horribly. In fact, the most recent numbers I was able to dig up, these come from 2016. But only a slender majority of Black Americans are in favor of reparations. It was like 51%, and I think they had to include a bunch of undecideds in there to get it up to that. And something like 40% are just absolutely opposed. So this is a loser issue that seems to come up every 4 years, but this year more seriously than I've ever seen it before.
Now, what do you mean by seriously? I mean, I've seen the crew of candidates that they are putting up so far. What's the serious part?
The serious part is all the bigs went to Al Sharpton's summit to genuflect behind this would-be kingmaker, and they all said at the very least that they would be in favor of studying reparations. And then you had candidates like Elizabeth Warren who said she's absolutely in favor.
She's talking about reparations to the Indians? Is that so?
No.
Is she looking for a check here, or what?
To her people, is what you're saying, Bill?
Well, I'm just saying. I think if you go back, if you want to take Elizabeth Warren as an example, I don't think there's very many people in the country that aren't at least one 1,032nd part Black. Yeah.
So and there are practical issues like giving an example. My two grandfathers, one didn't come here, his family didn't come here until well after the Civil War. He couldn't possibly.
But was he white before the Civil War?
Well, he was Jewish, but back then Jewish wasn't considered white.
Even
Today,
better.
Jewish is considered white. So, and my other grandfather grew up with a dirt farmer in Ohio somewhere with an outhouse. I don't think he was exactly benefiting from the plantation trade very much.
I'm going to save most of this for the episode, but I have a very controversial opinion on reparations. And that is, I think we ought to pay him.
Yeah? I can't wait to hear.
I do.
Okay.
And then what happens?
I do. Yes.
Exactly.
Then what happens?
Exactly.
Then what happens?
And then,
what happens?
Like, I can't imagine
what happens
there be
when
any
you have been made
that
whole?
Would be sufficient.
No. What happens? What happens when you have been made whole?
Yeah.
I mean, reparations is a social contract, right? On behalf of Black America, Al Sharpton is asking for reparations for slavery. It happened 150 years ago or more, whatever. And okay, so if we agree to pay this, then we're square, right? And you never get to use this again, right? And this never ever is an issue again.
I think we should pay them in proportion to the degree to which your history has negatively affected you. So, for example, if you've become a relatively wealthy activist and clearly your history, your family history of being enslaved hasn't really hurt you that much, you should get a pittance. However, if you're still poor and living in tough situations and, stuff like that, those folks should get all the money that comes from the reparation pot, so to speak.
This is the thing that actually fascinates me about reparations, and it fascinates me about the entire issue. And I guess I'll just save it for the episode, because strangely enough, I was thinking about this yesterday on the road.
Yeah, there's so much to chew on this one, politically, practically, technically, that I think we can have some fun with it. I hope so.
Okay.
There is, it's kind of like Pilate trying to wash his hands. At a certain point, if any of us thought that some amount of money could somehow atone for the grievous wrongs that we've done as a nation and as a people in various ways, including slavery, then I'm sure we would leap to the, saying, yes, where do I write the check and how much?
I'm as serious as I can be. I think that would be, if you could make that agreement binding and have a contract signed that says, in order to receive your money, you hereby give up all
further claims.
Then I think we ought to pay it, whatever it is.
But one of the things, this one isn't really going to fit in this segment, but it's an issue that it's an angle on this that interests me, so I'm going to bring it up here. And that is, there's this belief on the left that this nation was built on the backs of slaves, and it's just not true. The slave-owning states were economic backwaters right up until Jim Crow ended, and there was free movement of labor finally.
The entire Southern economy was destroyed in the Civil War. And it's certainly true that blacks built the plantation system, and the blacks that moved north as laborers helped build America.
Detroit built the black middle class.
But the idea that slaves built America is an idea that I think would be
I think that's denigrating to people who were in slavery themselves. I mean, the idea that somehow this is a great nation because of slavery. Bill, you said that in a recent episode of something or other that we did, the idea that the entire economy was destroyed in the Civil War. I've seen the argument made in history books that the entire Southern economy was already on the path to destruction before the Civil War because the economic model, forget the humanity of it, the economic model was not viable. And, there's the sort of manual labor intensive processes being used in the South for agriculture could not possibly keep up with the advances that were happening in the North, thanks to mechanization and division of labor and, free voluntary service and stuff like that. So not that you'd ever want to make this case. I mean, I think the Civil War did a great good.
Absolutely.
But the idea that somehow slavery was doing great as an institution economically before the Civil War and then things got bad, I don't think is so.
And the reason the South left the Confederacy left the Union was because they knew that given a free choice and westward expansion of the country, if the states were going to choose to be free states, and what their ultimate concern was that they would eventually have no chance of representation in Congress whatsoever. And when Lincoln was elected, that was like the trigger for them. And they 7 of the 11 states of the Confederacy were out of the Union before Lincoln was inaugurated.
Yeah. Not one law was passed, not one slave was freed, nothing before they bolted.
This should be a good episode.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a good topic, Steve.
Thank you.
And we're not even going to further talk about lightning round until we absolutely have to. I mean, that's it.
Hand-curated headlines just for you. Actually, I just realized I forgot to pick who gets which headline, so I'm going to have to do that after this and before we do that.
I think it should be a random drawing where at least half of our names should be removed from the pool of potential.
Also, no.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so this story comes to us. This is my topic for the week, and this is why I trembled in fear that Stephen Green was going to take this topic, because this is just right up his alley. This comes from the UK Sun, one of the fine publications coming out of Great Britain.
Crazy.
Yeah. Anyway, it is a story actually out of Argentina with the development and marketing of a new condom. And this is a condom that can only be opened by the use of 4 hands simultaneously. In other words, it's a consent condom. It means in order to...
This is blindingly clever.
In order to get the condom package open, you need to have at least 2 people using 2 hands each in order to press the corners and make it open.
And this is in order to incentivize gang rape. Is that my understanding?
This is to incentivize.
I was about to go there.
Yeah. See, there's something that the marketers may not have considered, or maybe had considered and thought this is a great novelty. But anyway, it's an Argentinian contraceptive firm called Tulipan, and they say that the product will make consent during sex clearer. Although they acknowledge it's not clear how effective this will be. So, this is apparently on the packages. The marketing company, BBD&O, did the marketing or advertising for it, and on the package it says, "If it's not a yes, it's a no." I thought you guys would have fun with that.
This might be the most 21st century story we've ever done.
Well, and I think the interesting thing about it is that it was sparked in part by an organization called AHF Argentina, which is an HIV positive rights organization. So it's a rights organization for people who are HIV positive. And they saw that the alarming results of a new survey showed that among Argentinian men, not specifically HIV positive or even homosexual, but among Argentinian men, only 14.5% said that they regularly used a condom during sex, or I suppose at any other time. But
thank you for clarifying that, Scott.
Why does it say during sex? Anyway,
maybe some guys just need the practice.
That's right.
The thing that attracts me most about the idea is when you think about how conscientious rapists are. You know, the idea that just wearing a condom in the first place, you know, is that's I think you got to tip your hat to the racists and I'm sorry, rapists, because. Just if for no other reason, for their former conscientiousness and using one user opening available condoms, you know.
I'm trying to imagine the conversation around that is like, listen, lady, I know this isn't entirely voluntary, but would you mind holding the other side of this box for me?
Yeah, actually, there was a case, this has got to be 20 years ago at least now, where a judge tried to throw out rape charges because the woman, the victim, knew what was coming and insisted that the rapist wear a condom so she could at least protect herself in some small way. And the judge decided that implied consent.
What a jerk.
It was a huge scandal, and it should have been.
So anyway, 65% of men in Argentina say they occasionally use condoms, and then an alarming 20.5% say they never use a condom. Now, this data that's presented by the Sun here is, of course, without context. Why? Because journalism. And so they don't give you an idea of, you know, these homosexual, heterosexual acts, are these married people, non-married people, or whatever. But they're very alarmed that people aren't using condoms frequently enough. And so they're making a condom package that wait for it, is more difficult to open.
Yeah. Well, as long as, if you're using condoms on occasion, but the occasion is sex, that's probably all right.
That's what the article says. It is during that.
Okay.
Which surprised me.
Well, there's your context, Scott.
So anyway, so that's my topic. I bet that surprises a good 95% of our audience. But I just thought, you're right. It is the most 2019 story of 2019. And I think we need to weigh in on it. Bill Whittle, you also get a turn at this, whether you want to or not. What would you like to talk about on this week's episode of Right Angle that you host?
Well, I was looking at the Drudge Report and I saw a little mini headline that said, New York City, Los Angeles, Miami, the least affordable places to live in America. And I realized those are the only 3 places I've ever lived in America. But I decided I would...
What's wrong with you?
Leave that one alone. I'm going to take the story that Scott handed off just because the headline was so delicious. And the
you don't have to admit to this. Nobody heard that.
No, of course. Yeah. It's Scott's idea.
You're not that big a man to admit.
Yes, I am. I'm big enough to admit that I stole stuff from somebody else. I'm big enough to admit I don't have any ideas of my own and that I don't do the research necessary to do this show. I'm certainly big.
In which case, I should admit what I did before the recording, which is the reason why I handed off the story is because I wasn't smart enough to understand it.
Well, it's there's just a lot of stuff that's just fun here. And the headline is, it's from Politico, so you know it must be true. Too many Democrats are running in 2020 according to science. And I thought at first that too many Democrats were going to be making science their platform, as if, like we're the party of science.
Oh,
but it turns out that science says science in fact called this one in and said that there are too many people running. And I'll save this for the episode, but one of the things that the writer, Lily Koffler, is the U.S. Director of Behavioral Sciences at Hill plus Knowlton Strategies in New York. What more powerful indicator of familiarity with the human condition could you have than that? But in any event, she says that there's too many choices and that science shows that that this is bad, helps Donald Trump, all the rest of it. But one of the things that I like best...
This is why Baskin-Robbins will never make it.
Too many
choices. I'm going to read... That's right. I'm going to read
32 flavors and boom, they're done.
Because she lists a number of ways that Democratic candidates can set themselves apart. And I just find that the 3 examples that she used are so far away from Democratic politics that I thought that was good for a laugh too. So anyway, I am, as you know, just absolutely enthralled by what science has to say. And when science, calls a headline in, I just sit upright and prepare to obey.
See,
on the line from Akron, Ohio, it's science.
This is the difference between
Hello, Steve, long-time listener, first-time caller.
You can see the clear distinction between Bill Whittle and Scott Ott in this story because the part that he just talked about, I never got that far. I'm reading through the story, and I'm like, ugh, the words.
There's nothing interesting here. That's not going to slow me down, by God.
So many words.
That will not slow me down. Not for 1 second. The fact that there's no interesting things here. But it's another good sign for Donald Trump in 2020, which is still an eternity away. But nevertheless, his approval rating's at 53%.
53, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm feeling.
Yeah, latest from Rasmussen.
I'm not feeling. I'll never feel great until the thing is over.
Is that the broad national opinion, or is that the Electoral College opinion?
That is apparently the national opinion, which means nothing.
It was 53% of likely voters, and it's really hard to get a sense of likely voters this far out. But the trend line is positive.
Let's put it this way: it could be worse. And so anyway, just another little piece of.
Can we poll the likely electors? Is there a way to poll likely electors?
That is awesome. Because we were having that conversation before. It's like the national, to announce what the national vote totals for the president is is misleading and it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
It is absolutely irrelevant. I don't even know why they keep track of it. It doesn't matter.
Had about 60,000 Trump voters who had previously voted for Obama in 08 and 12. Had they stayed home on Election Day in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, we would have President Hillary, and she would have us in camps by now.
I think that they should report, and this should be as much a part of the national conversation as the national popular vote is. I think we should have it reporting on body mass index of voters that come to the likely body mass index of voters who likely are to come to the poll, as well as line velocity at polling places.
Yes, whether more tall people voted for Democrats or Republicans. I want to get the above 6 foot vote calibrated.
Yeah, because if if for example Hillary Clinton had won the BMI, I mean I think we'd have a whole different situation.
And she would have.
And going against Trump, that's no small feat, if you'll pardon the pun.
No, that's right. That's right.
No, I think she would have. I think she would have whipped anybody.
So, and by the way,
Christie had run. In which case, we would have had ourselves an old knockdown, drag out political slugfest.
Oh, yeah. It would be a buoyant evening for all. The conversation to which Bill is referring, Bill does not understand that there are parts of his life that are not recorded and parts that are recorded. And so the part that he just referred to was actually a show we did. It was an episode of Bill Whittle Now. Bill, by the way, if you could just cover your ears for a second, Bill. Have you ever seen The Truman Show? Well, Bill Whittle is in The Truman Show.
I've suspected such for
who's
quite a while now.
He has no idea. And so, when that Klieg light fell from the ceiling that one time and exploded next to him, he was just like, what?
Labeled Arcturus or something like that.
Scott, this explains the Grand Canyon fiasco. It was actually a little tiny prop.
Yes, that's right.
So painted flat.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that they wouldn't let me go to the edge of the Grand Canyon. It's that they wouldn't let me go to the edge of the dome, the miserable bastards.
Are you one of those Grand Canyon truthers who believes that there is a Grand Canyon? Are you one of those people?
Not anymore.
So anyway, but there was an episode of Bill Whittle Now, which just posted to BillWhittle.com today that you can enjoy, where we talk about the Electoral College. And then we cropped about a 3-minute excellent quick cut that is being broadly distributed on YouTube right now that I'm sure will get wide dispersal because Bill just... within that little 3-minute window, kind of told you everything you know about why it's so important to stop the Democrats from eliminating the Electoral College.
I did?
You did, stunningly.
In 3 minutes?
In 3 minutes.
That's
some other
shocker.
guy. That's some other guy. You cut the wrong show.
I went to a pizza shop with Bill, and he ordered a slice, and it took longer than that.
Yes. I ordered a slice, and I ordered a third of the pizza, and he started to cut it. I said, no, I don't want pie slices.
That's right.
Oh my God!
I want to take the total area, and I want to take the total area and remove a square from the middle where most of the toppings are. How hard is this?
When he started talking about the old Russian czars as part of his order of pizza, I knew we were in trouble.
I will tell you, my friend Fritz Bronner, I'll never forget this. We went to Burger King. And they were pushing the have it your way thing, so he would always just go in there and mess with them. And he said he wanted a Whopper, please, and he wanted it cut in thirds. And they said, okay. So they started to cut it in thirds. You're just like, chop, chop, chop. He said, no, pie thirds. I want pie thirds.
Very precise. I'm not sure they have that kind of equipment. So thank you to everybody, by the way, on behalf of Bill. Thank you to everybody who wished him well for his birthday.
Yeah, well, needless to say, thank you, yes.
Well, apparently it was needless to say for you because I had to say it. So
I just got back. I haven't had a chance to read these things yet, but thank you.
So, and as well as Natasha, who turned 24 this week.
That's right.
As Bill turned 60.
Mm-hmm.
Every year on November 20, my wife turns 24 and a half, and I tell her so every time.
And she doesn't look that old, really. If you haven't seen it yet, also, Bill's new firewall is actually from the lip or within 100 yards of the lip of the Grand Canyon.
And let me just clarify one thing. When he says my new firewall, what he means is my old firewall. That was last week's firewall. There will be a firewall this week.
Nice.
So we will be delivering our 4 a month, just maybe not once a week. That's all.
Maybe by the time you see this, you will actually have already seen another firewall about which Scott Ott, the historical Scott Ott, the Scott Ott of the past, the one who's talking to you right now, who doesn't realize what life is going to be like in the future, thinks that the latest firewall is about the Grand Canyon and Bill's excellent government regulation adventure there.
One of my favorite comedians of all time is Mitch Hedberg. He overdosed in, I want to say, 2009 or something. He's absolutely brilliant. And he said, somebody came up to me and said, hey, let me show you a picture of myself. It was taken when I was younger. And he said, all photographs of you are taken when you're younger.
Stupid linear nature of time.
It's just brilliant.
Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate, and by the way, I feel like every time I talk to you, new things have happened. You got to check out the member blog at billwhittle.com.
No, it's tremendous.
It's hopping.
Really. So, and I say this as somebody who, and Steve, now you're going to have to cover your ears. I don't read blogs.
Oh, wait, my earpiece is still in. I heard you completely.
Oh, I am so sorry.
You broke my heart, Scott.
Well, it's not. I don't think of Instapundit as a blog. It's just the biggest blog ever. But in any case, I find myself sucked into this member blog, and it's fascinating. By the way, we have a new feature, and I don't know if you guys know about it. Then this was another member request. If you're reading somebody's blog post, on the right side of the page, you'll be able to see the 10 most recent blog posts by that same author. So people have asked for that.
And you can follow them and develop a following or connect them and stuff.
Now, I'll acknowledge, we had a question about that, like, what does following get me? And I'm not entirely sure about that at this point. So we're trying to figure out exactly what following gets you. I think what following gets you is the ability to restrict your conversations to private messaging to people who are following you or that you are following. So now...
Whoever that member is, I want their names and I want to hire them as chief financial officer.
That's right.
What do I get out of this following thing? Ooh, I like that approach. I like that bulldog approach.
But in any case, you will now be able to see, like, if you like the blog post you just read, we got more. And if that person has written any more, up to a total of 10 are going to appear in that right-hand margin of the 10 most recent.
Mia.
Nice.
And I will tell you, there are more features coming for members at billwhittle.com. But I have found that the more features we roll out at once, the more likely it is to melt the reactor core. And so I'm trying not to melt the reactor core.
And that's bad.
Listen, Bill, I'm telling you, you've got to get a newer server. That Amiga 500 just isn't cutting it anymore.
But I need the video toaster in order to do these shows, Steve.
Oh, a video toaster reference. I love it. Oh, that takes me back.
Video toaster was awesome. It was absolutely awesome.
It was the best thing in the world.
And one other feature we've added since the last time we talked, and this was one that was much ballyhooed and demanded by our members, using the support ticket bug ideas / thing that they contributed ideas. You're now able to upvote a video or a post. There's a little green thing and a little red thing. You could also downvote them, but what kind of a monster are you?
I've been upvoting people's comments
My posts
like
only
crazy.
have upvotes.
What'd you say, Steve?
Oh, I've been upvoting comments like crazy, underneath videos. But if we can upvote the videos, man, I'm going to go to town on my segments.
Yes, we can now do that. And as I've responded to several people, if you post something that you'd like to delete, like you make a comment and you'd like to delete it, there is the ability to do that. It's not right next to your comment. It's actually right at the top of the comments area. There's a little icon, which I'm calling man gear. It's kind of like man, bear, pig, but not exactly. And so there's this little icon that I call Man Gear. If you click on Man Gear, you will see that you can delete all the comments you ever posted. So because of the communists in Europe, there's this thing where your data is yours. And if you want to, you could actually go through and delete any individual comment or all of them if you wanted to. So we have
Would it be possible at great expense to write code where anytime somebody clicks on one of my stories, it automatically gets upvoted, and in order to remove the upvote, you have to contact Google customer support?
That's right. You have to.
How much would that cost?
You have to fax a form.
By the way, if anybody has ever tried to get a human being from Google on the phone, it can't be done by mortal man.
Nope,
you actually have
possible.
to have a God phone and be God calling on the God phone.
Even then, you have to wait 12
Oh yeah,
minutes.
yeah.
I actually just using the what do they call that? Through the courtesy of Fred's 2 feet, through the courtesy of Scott's 2 feet, I just unplugged my earbud while Steve was talking.
No. Well, I've been having my iPad, which I use as a recording device now, has been sliding down on the tripod. So
Nice.
I've had
wondered
to adjust
I wondered
it
why you
twice
reached
now.
over and just shook the world.
This this is why I apologize. I'll have it fixed before we record our real segment. So thank you for putting up with watching me get higher and higher in the frame over the course of this segment.
Stephen Atlas Green, who's holding up the world and shaking it a little bit.
Shrugging.
That's right. Atlas is shrugging. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's about it. That's enough. You've had too much already. We are going to get about recording this week's episodes of Right Angle, and we appreciate your beneficence and munificence and benevolence and all the other Ents words.
And birthday wishes.
Your resistance and your... and your birthday wishes for Bill and Natasha. We really feel like we're part of your family, and we are grateful for the contributions you make, but also the encouragement we get from you. And I often write to members when they're asking questions or just sending notes of encouragement, and I'll tell them, I have the best boss in the world. And they think, oh, well, how sweet of him to say that about Bill. It's not Bill. It's you. It's the members at BillWhittle.com. And
now I have sent out a memo about how I feel about uppity employees. I'm pretty sure I sent that memo to everybody.
It is uppityness.
I don't
that is
read
the
that
problem
much.
with this organization. So, until next time, for Bill Whittle and Stephen Green, I'm Scott Ott. Thank you.